live here from YouTube, Instagram, and even TikTok. So this should be a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys can all see me. If you can't see me on any of the channels, please just raise your hand and let me know. But I am so excited to do this. So it's Tuesdays. We're going to start Tuesdays with Taz. My schedule, as so many of you guys know, is all over the place. So 11 is probably a good time. I hope that time works for you. But we might try to hit some evenings as well, or maybe even some afternoon times. But what is the point of doing this? Well, I get a lot of questions. You guys ask so many questions, which are great, well thought out questions, and sometimes it's hard to answer you back in 2 seconds. So I thought this was an opportunity to take some of your questions and see if I could answer them. So if you do have questions, I've got my handy assistants standing by right over here who are trying to monitor the feeds to see if we can answer any of those questions at any time throughout the next 15-20 minutes that we have together. But what I thought I'd jump into, I know Thanksgiving's coming. There's actually just an article out talking about how we don't want to have a diet mindset around Thanksgiving and around the holidays. It takes the fun out of it. And I really want everybody getting out of this good versus bad mentality. I hear that all the time in the exam room. Oh my gosh, I've been good. Oh my gosh, I've been bad. So when we start to put that kind of energy around our behaviors, they're self-sabotaging. We put negative emotions around them, and then we end up just not feeling very good about ourselves. So guess what we do? We engage in the same behavior over and over again. So as we go into the holiday season, before I talk about anything else, I want to encourage all of you to ditch the good versus bad, to ditch the diet mentality. And I think that's really sabotaging everybody and really making them feel like failures. And then guess what happens? Remember when you were back in school and you kept continually doing bad on a report card or in a particular class? You give up, right? You give up. You're like, I'm just dumb. I can't do this. It's not for me. And then you sort of start to retreat and take a back seat. And that is the last thing I want for any of you. So, keeping all of that in mind as we head into this holiday season, I want to remind everybody to have fun, to be grateful, to be thankful, and to really relish and enjoy the food we're eating. We had some people over for dinner this past weekend, and someone made a really interesting comment. They were actually talking about the difference between America versus Europe. And they were talking about alcohol actually, and they were saying that in America, for example, people drink to get drunk, right? You're going to go out, I'm going to get wasted tonight. You know what I'm talking about. Don't pretend like you don't know what I'm referring to there. We've all been there at one time or another. I'm not going to divulge too many secrets there, but in Europe, drinking is more of just a side conversation. It's a pleasure. You don't drink to get drunk, you drink to enjoy. Just like you eat to enjoy and you eat to savor the quality of food and the flavor and the effort and the love put into it. So this Thanksgiving, let's ditch the good versus bad. Think about savoring your meals, enjoying the effort that everybody sort of put into like preparing food and bringing people together, because that in itself is the ultimate expression of love, and also the ultimate expression of love to yourself. So having said all of that, I'm now going to go in a completely different direction, because this is just something you guys are asking me about all the time. In fact, I just got a DM this morning like, help, I need to lose weight. What do I do? So I posted a video just a couple minutes ago because everyone's asking me about Ozempic and Mounjaro and Wegovy and all these different diet medications. Kind of remember the old fen and phentermine that so many of you were asking about back in the day. Well, now these are the new medicines that apparently all the celebrities are doing and that everybody is after to help them lose weight. And there's some pros and cons, as there are with many things around those medications. So check that video out. I do think those medications are boosters. They're for certain people, and they don't replace the importance of really having that foundational skill or that foundational lifestyle intact, where you're able to eat and not undereat, you're able to move throughout the day, you're getting the protein you need, and you're working on building muscle and building muscle mass. So that's the foundation that we need to start with, and maybe we need to take the expectation out of that foundation that, oh my God, if you do this, you're going to lose 20 pounds. Maybe it's more you're going to be healthy, and you're going to feel good, and you're going to have the energy and the vitality you need to be what you need to be in your life, whether you're male or female, Superman or Superwoman, right? So that's really where I want the mindset to shift, because that's what's going to breed results. And then if you get stuck, well, that's another conversation, right? Like, what do we do? How do we change things moving forward now that that foundation is intact? Okay, I think we've got a couple of questions. I'm going to let you guys call them out to me, because I see some popping up here, but I'm not catching them fast enough, I think. So if you have questions, jump in. I'm happy to answer them. I think there was one question on, let's see, I know you guys had one.
There's one on TikTok.
And that question is, hi TikTokers, how are you guys doing? It's been fun to be on TikTok, by the way. I've actually enjoyed it. You get to be kind of goofy, but at the same time, give some decent information there. So I've definitely enjoyed that for sure. And my Instagram community, I know you guys have been growing with me over the years, so thank you so much for that. And YouTube live is new for me, so we'll see how this goes and how you guys like going live and what you sort of think about that whole situation. All right, what's our first question?
Okay, it's from user Micho29. They say, hello, what is the best way to balance hormones, especially for menopausal women?
Okay, so that is a loaded question, right? How do you balance hormones when you're in menopause? So for most, let's make some fundamental assumptions, right? And by the way, this month was all about menopause in my Superwoman Circle. If you guys have not joined the circle, I encourage you to do so. That link is drtaz.com/superwoman. And in it, we are diving deep into menopause. I put out a menopause guide. We did a webinar on menopause. Hopefully those of you who are in the circle had an opportunity to see that. And we're doing a coaching session the week after Thanksgiving to really kind of go much deeper into this conversation. All right, let's establish some fundamental absolutes about menopause. So menopause, first of all, is when there's no period for a year. Secondly, most folks in menopause and the male version, which we're going to call andropause, where there's just a depletion of hormones, most people end up in insulin resistance. Now, what is that? Insulin resistance is where your blood sugar levels are high and it no longer responds to insulin. So insulin levels get higher, meaning blood sugar levels just get even higher. What does that mean for all of us? That means more belly fat, so usually back fat, belly fat, fat in places that you didn't see before, and weight going up. Super frustrating for everybody. The second universal principle is that because of hormone depletion, you're usually very low in estrogen, testosterone, and then for the women in progesterone as well. And that depletion of hormones worsens insulin resistance. So we've got these two sort of big hormonal blocks really preventing people from feeling good, from kind of getting to their best state of health. So what do we do for that? The first place to begin is really honestly to begin with insulin resistance, and that concept of what can we do to help with insulin, to help balance insulin out. That's very much an eating pattern and style, getting the protein in, eating at the right intervals, getting healthy fats in, not the junk fats, but the healthy fats in, so that the gut and the liver and some of these other organs can do their thing. So that's the first piece of it, is dealing with the insulin resistance, the universal insulin resistance that people deal with in menopause and andropause. The second part of this conversation is what and how far can you get naturally or holistically? You know, is it enough to do herbs and supplements and really optimizing your nutrients, which is incredibly important? So you want good doses of B vitamins, magnesium, vitamin D, iodine, you know, all of these key nutrients. You don't want to be nutrient deficient. And the pattern many people get into is that they are gaining weight because of the insulin resistance. So they starve, and as they starve, they undereat, so they drop their metabolism further, and then they're not getting the macros and the micronutrients that they actually need for energy and for hormone building and for some of these other things. And so, I mean, I think, you know, naturally what you can do is optimize nutrients, optimize gut health, optimize liver health, and then definitely there's a whole toolbox of herbs and supplements that help with hormonal fluctuations and building hormones. Some of our favorites, for example, you know, chasteberry or Vitex builds progesterone. We know Dong Quai, which is in Chinese medicine, helps with estrogen fluctuations. Maca is one that I talk about over and over again, which helps with hormone fluctuations and indirectly can help with testosterone too. We know zinc is important for testosterone. So again, I could do a million of these loops, but the driving home point, the fundamental point, is that there are nutrients There are natural things, herbs and supplements that help you with the hormonal component of this whole entire conversation. Okay, but sometimes that's not enough. You've got the diet right, you've got the sleep taken care of, you have the right herbs and supplements on board, but you're still not feeling quite like yourself. You're off, whether it's by mood or by weight or by how you look and feel, your hair, your skin, all these different things that we look at are changing. If that's the case, then there needs to be a conversation around hormone replacement therapy. And there are about this many different ways to replace hormones. So sometimes it's as gentle as a hormone cream, or there are now lots of vaginal suppositories that people are using. But then there's the more aggressive version of using patches and pills. Then there are pellets. And so there's this whole world of hormone replacement therapy. I can tell you what I don't like, but almost everything else has to be individualized. I do not like pellets. They are a short-term fix. You will feel good initially, but you'll feel terrible months down the road. And the reason for that is that your body's going to start to store that hormone and activate genetics that don't need to be woken up, or you're simply going to have too big of a hormone load in your system. So I don't like pellets at all. And I know some people are going to argue and some doctors are going to push back, but honestly, I really don't care. Now, when it comes to patches, pills, creams, vaginal ways of doing things, that can be very patient dependent. But the general rule of thumb is to start with a low dose after you have done the foundational work that we've just talked about, because then we can see what your body's really going to do with the hormone and make sure it's not creating trouble for you down the road. I guess another sort of variable are the genetics. So for example, if you've got certain genetics like COMT, MTHFR, some of these genetics that are sort of leaning towards holding on to estrogen and building estrogen, then we know that you're not going to be a good candidate for heavy-handed hormone replacement. It doesn't mean you can't do it. You just can't do mega doses, if that makes sense. So hopefully that's like a big 360-degree view of what I think about hormones and hormone replacement and balancing them in menopause. I would say that same conversation applies if you're in perimenopause, or even if you have PCOS, or if you have many fertility issues. All the hormonal shifts that we as women and men, I feel like I need to include men in this conversation because so many men are having hormone shifts and they don't understand how it's impacting their lives and what it's doing to their mood and to their relationships and to their productivity and to so many other aspects of their health. So both for men and women, understanding your hormones and where these hormones are shifting is so important. I can't stress it enough. It's really important to get in, to a provider, or even use the world of online testing, which I think is incredible. I wish I had had that when I was in my 20s, but understanding where you are, where's testosterone, where's estrogen, where's progesterone, where's your thyroid, where's insulin, understanding this chemistry so that you can kind of take the twists and turns that you need to really modify your health and modify what's happening overall. Okay, that's a really long-winded approach to that question. Do we have any others that have popped up? And we're almost running out of time. We have a couple of minutes more.
Michael said, "Thank you so much. Your
Okay,
answers
you're
are so
welcome.
helpful."
You are so welcome. I'm glad they're helpful for sure. All right. Well, look, if you guys like this Tuesday with Taz session, send me questions, send me topics that are important to you and that you think we need to dive into, or that are just so confusing when you look at literature. I have to say one more thing before I jump off. So Chris Hemsworth does not have Alzheimer's. He has the ApoE gene. My son was telling me this, who's a huge, obviously, Marvel fan. But he's like, Chris Hemsworth has Alzheimer's. He has the gene that puts him at higher risk for Alzheimer's, but he doesn't necessarily have Alzheimer's. But when you take an integrative and functional approach to knowing that you have a certain genetic marker, then we know that we can put the chemistry in place to really protect the brain, protect everything, so it doesn't have to necessarily become the story. All right? I'm going to leave you guys with that.
I think
There's one more
Oh, one more question. Okay.
And then this one is from TikTok.
Okay.
And it says, "Hi, Dr. Taz. I see so many trends and advice on TikTok about gut health. What do you recommend we watch out for when doing research?"
Okay, trends on TikTok and even probably on Instagram about gut health. So when doing research, look at your source. First of all, there are a lot of people getting on there and talking from their own personal experience, which again, we know each of us are unique and have results with different things. But I think you really want to reach somebody or get advice from someone who's got the experience that they can kind of relay back. And not trying to toot my own horn, but I've been practicing for a really long time, which makes me older than I care to admit, but I've been a doctor for 25, 26 years and been practicing integrative and functional medicine for 14 years. Seen over probably 20, 30,000 patients at this point. We're hitting that 30,000 mark soon, and get to see all kinds of gut issues, right? Not just, gut issues for this population or that population, but how they present across the board. So I think your source really matters. I know that on any of these platforms, anybody can get up there and say stuff, but I think your source and the experience and sort of their way of thinking, right? Because you've got conventional docs coming on and they've got a very narrow way of thinking. You've got maybe very Eastern people coming on and they've got their lane of thinking. But I think you really want someone who's got the experience of putting pieces together from Eastern and Western medicine, bringing it all together, understanding what made patients better, what made them worse, and that real day-to-day tactical experience speaks volumes, and I think that's probably the best way to judge. I hope that's a good answer to that question. All right, well, we're going to sign off, and again, send me your stuff. Send me what you want me to talk about, but most importantly, have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy it. Enjoy your food. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the love. I have so much to be thankful for this holiday, and I can talk about that more down the road, but just hold everybody you love closely, because we're not guaranteed things in life, right? And then most importantly, be thankful for yourself, because you are capable of so much. And it's a waste to not let the world see those talents. All right, take care, guys. Have a happy Thanksgiving.